The top stories tonight in Y News. The immediate effect of the agreements President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signed in Indonesia and Singapore would depend on how long they would materialize into a concrete plan of action, according to a political analyst.
As the dollar maintained its strength, the Philippine peso continued its downward trend to hit yet another record low.
The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is expected to release its report on the sugar importation controversy after concluding its investigation.
After a strong earthquake struck China's southern Sichuan province on Monday, leaving at least 65 people dead, the Department of Foreign Affairs is ensuring the safety of more than 100 Filipinos.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, the 6th of September 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
Five satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Harding Delgado.
First in the news, before departing for Singapore, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. met with various Indonesian business leaders. The president expressed optimism about the investment of Indonesian businessmen to the Philippines. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
On the second day of his state visit to Indonesia, President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. met representatives from the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also known as Kadin Indonesia, and the Philippine Business Club. The president underscores his administration's efforts in improving bureaucratic efficiency, refining fiscal management, promoting job-generating investments, and ensuring energy security.
At this point, the Philippines is open and eager for business, and we are clear about the path that we are going to take that ensures our macroeconomic fundamentals are addressed.
Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles said in a press briefing that President Marcos is happy about Indonesian investors' interest in the Philippines due to the fact that some private companies have signed agreements seen as being sufficient to the Philippines. Details of the aforementioned signed agreements were not immediately available, but Secretary Angeles claimed that President Marcos is in possession of copies of the aforementioned investment agreements. During a meeting with business leaders yesterday, the President welcomed the development. According to Professor Froilan Kalilong, a political analyst, the encouragement of the President for the Indonesian businessman to invest in the country is crucial for the economic recovery of the Philippines.
We really need to thrive on inviting and enticing foreign investments. And I think maganda na matuto tayo from Singapore and Indonesia because they are actually at par. Yung mga ekonomiya nila, they're performing very well. Especially their economic fundamentals are very sound, as compared to us, in the Philippines. So mahalaga to na makita natin kung paano natin mabe-benchmark at matututunan yung mga best practices din nila in the field of economics.
Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Filipino community in Singapore warmly welcomes the delegation of President Bongbong Marcos Jr. The president arrived in the country for a two-day state visit. From Singapore, Annie Mancilla will give us the details live. Yes, Annie?
Good evening, Harleen. President Bongbong Marcos Jr. has officially started his two-day state visit in Singapore by meeting the Filipino community. He and his delegation was warmly welcomed by our kababayans here in Hall B Auditorium, National University of Singapore. The chief executive was accompanied by First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos and presidential son Ilocos Norte 1st District Representative Sandro Marcos. President Marcos thanked the Filipinos for their support to the government, as well as the significant contribution of the overseas Filipino workers to the Philippine economy. He ensures the OFWs the government is exerting all efforts to uplift the lives of Filipino households.
Dahil prioridad ng administrasyong ito ang kapakanan ng mga OFW at ang kanilang pamilya sa Pilipinas. Ito yung pagbabago na dinala ng ating Secretary Toots Ople. Ay sabi niya, alagaan natin yung mga OFW, ngunit wag natin kakalimutan, alagaan din natin ang kanilang pamilya sa pamamagitan ng mga scholarship, pamamagitan ng healthcare, pamamagitan ng housing. Yan po ang aming tinatrabaho ngayon. At nasisimulan na natin para naman, yung trabaho ninyo ay hindi nyo kailangan isipin ang kalagayan ng inyong mga mahal sa buhay.
Meanwhile, Department of Migrant Workers Secretary Susan Toots Ople revealed the interest of the Singaporean Health Ministry to hire more Filipino workers. The Philippines and Singapore will sign a joint communique on this tomorrow. Also on Wednesday, President Marcos will attend a program in Singapore Botanical Garden wherein he and his wife will have a new orchid hybrid, the Dendrobium Ferdinand Luis Marcos, in their honor. President Marcos will have separate meetings with Singaporean President Halima Yacob and Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. PBBM and PM Lee will jointly witness the exchange of bilateral agreements that will further enhance the cooperation of the two countries in various sectors, including the counter-terrorism efforts and data privacy protection. Tomorrow afternoon, a Philippine economic briefing will be held by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and the Department of Finance. This is apart from a roundtable discussion with businessmen and Singapore. President Marcos is looking to harvest investment deals from Singapore. Singapore is the fifth largest trading partner of the Philippines in the world and the largest in ASEAN. In 2021, despite the pandemic, the Philippines and Singapore total trade amounted to $11.14 billion or 635.1 billion pesos. Harleen?
Thank you, Annie Mancilia, reporting live from Singapore.
Meanwhile, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. secured investment deals from his state visits, and a political analyst believe that this may translate to jobs very soon. Nel Maribuhok reports why.
The Philippines is prepared for the possible investment deals and other agreements that President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. would secure during his state visit to Indonesia and Singapore. Professor Froilan Calilong, a political analyst, said the immediate effect of the agreements would depend on how long this would materialize into a concrete plan of action.
If ever makakapag-uwi po siya talaga ng mga concrete programs or plan of actions, I think mas magmamaterialize siya ng mabilis.
He also said that the Philippines is prepared to accept any investment deals from the said state visits.
And I think the Philippines is ready for this. We have already put the infrastructures in place. We have already came up with some laws like the Public Utilities Act, which makes the country even more enticing to foreign investors. So I hope that it will materialize very, very soon para maramdaman natin yung economic gain somehow nitong mga proyekto na to.
President Marcos was able to sign 4 agreements during his 3-day state visit in Indonesia. These include a plan of action that outlines the bilateral commitments in the next 5 years, a memorandum of understanding that renews a 27-year-old defense and security cooperation agreement, and pacts that promote the cultural cooperation and economy of the two countries. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine peso sinks to an all-time low of 57 pesos versus United States dollar. An economist, however, sees good and bad effects under the devalued peso. Asher Kadapan Jr. details why.
Aside from interest rate hike in the United States, shortage in dollars amid its high demand contribute to a continuous drop of Philippine peso. This is due to shortage in remittances by overseas Filipino workers and other dollar holders. Economics professor Carlos Manapat explains the shortage affects several industries as they utilize dollars in importing products for their operation.
Kaya nagkakaganito yung natin, yung dollar to peso. Kasi hindi naman natin pwede kontrolin eh. Hindi natin pwede kontrolin yun. Pag kinontrol natin yun, lalong magkakaroon ng problema. So, ang ginagawa natin, yung free market forces ng ginagawa natin, hinahayaan lang natin yung market forces to dictate the price of the dollars.
Today, the Philippine peso further drops to over 57 pesos versus the US dollar, the lowest in history. But Manapat says people should avoid speculations as the drop in the value of peso may imply not only negative impact but also positive effect.
So maraming reasons na hindi maganda to, no? Especially when you buy things from abroad. So, ano naman ang kagandahan niya? Kagandahan nito, pag nagpadala yung mga OFW sa Philippines, pataas ang palitan. So hindi lang siya one way, medyo two-way din ang effect.
The economist also advises the public to choose to buy local products over imported ones in the meantime. He further asks to let the government do the rest of the necessary actions in such undertaking. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A 6.6 magnitude earthquake that strikes China's southwestern Sichuan province on Monday left at least 65 people dead. The earthquake took place as millions of people in Chengdu, Sichuan's capital, were under lockdown due to COVID-19. Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs ensures the safety of more than 100 Filipinos in the vicinity. Joselito Liquido will give us the details live. Joselito?
Good evening, Elsie. Rescue efforts are underway following a 6.8 magnitude earthquake that killed at least 65 people and left hundreds stranded or missing in China's southwestern Sichuan province. Nearly 250 people were being treated for injuries from the disaster, with dozens critically wounded, according to China's state media. The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said no Filipinos were reported affected by the 6.6 magnitude earthquake. The department said there are 167 Filipinos in the area. The Philippine Embassy in Beijing is currently monitoring the situation of Filipino nationals in the affected areas. The powerful earthquake struck Sichuan after midday on Monday, with the epicenter deep in the province's mountainous interior in the west. The quake was felt as far away as provinces of Shanxi and Guizhou, hundreds of kilometers away. Including the epicenter of the quake, power and water infrastructure and telecommunications were severely damaged, according to state television. It also reported that 243 houses had collapsed and 13,000 had been damaged. 4 hotels and hundreds of homestays were also affected. With heavy rains expected over the next 3 days, experts on Tuesday flagged risks from a number of dammed lakes that have formed after the quake. Elsie?
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, for that live report. Typhoon Hinamnor left South Korea after making landfall in the country's south, leaving thousands of people displaced and at least 1 dead. Marvin Delphine will give us the details live. Yes, Marvi?
LC, typhoon warnings were issued in most parts of South Korea as Typhoon Hinamnor left the Korean peninsula. President Yoon Suk-yeol has instructed his spokesperson to take precautions until the typhoon is completely gone. A resident was swept away and killed by strong currents while trying to evacuate in the southeastern city of Pohang, while the typhoon also left 1 injured and 2 others missing as of Tuesday morning, the Ministry of Interior and Safety said, and the casualty numbers could rise as authorities continue rescue operations. About 2,900 people were evacuated, mostly in the southern regions, and over 66,000 households have lost power. The Defense Ministry said the military has mobilized amphibious vehicles for rescue operations. The typhoon has caused thousands of flight cancellations, business suspension, and school closures. Elsie?
Thank you for that live report, Marvi Delphine. The bodies of 2 women were found in a fire that continues to burn acres in California, USA. CAL FIRE reported some of the evacuation orders and warnings have been lifted. Beverly Saison will tell us why.
Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office announced 2 women ages 66 and 73 were recovered as they surveyed the damage of the mill fire in Weed, California. 3 other people have been injured as well. The fire has burned 4,263 acres and only 40% was contained last Monday. Weed Mayor Kim Green stated that the wildfire is now inside the city limits. CAL FIRE reported nearly 560 people have been evacuated since Friday, but some of the evacuation orders and warnings have been lifted. A mountain fire also started Friday in the southwest area of Gazelle. It had burned about 8,900 acres and is 10% contained. There are no injuries reported, but 332 people were forced to evacuate. Beverly Sison, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Elsie. The powerful Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is set to release its report on the sugar importation controversy on Thursday after it concluded its investigation. This report will tell us why. After 3 hearings, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee terminated its inquiry on the controversial Sugar Order No. 4 today. Its chairperson, Senator Francis Tolentino, says they will release the committee report on Thursday, September 8. The lawmaker says the report will recommend filing of charges against several individuals. However, Tolentino refused to disclose any details.
Definitely. Charges will be filed. Hintayin nyo na lang. Hintayin nyo na lang.
Earlier, the committee moved to issue a subpoena to Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez for failing to attend the hearing anew. Rodriguez appeared before the panel an hour after.
I would like to sincerely apologize if there is we have to resort to the issuance of a subpoena to compel my presence today. I have no intention whatsoever to disrespect the honorable members of the Senate and the Senate as an institution.
There, Rodriguez maintained that they opposed the 300,000 metric ton sugar import volume proposed by the Sugar Regulatory Administration, or SRA, under the botched Sugar Order No. 4. However, former SRA Administrator Hermenegildo Serafica says he did not recall any opposition from their meeting with President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. He added that during an online meeting on August 4, the president mentioned a 600,000 metric tons of sugar import volume. This was backed by former SRA board member Aurelio Valderrama. However, this was denied by Rodriguez.
The president mentioned about a volume of 600,000 metric tons. And I said, Mr. President, that may be too much because starting August 1, First Farmers has already accepted canes delivery from farmers. And anytime this week, they will start milling.
Wala pong katotohanan na nanggaling kay Pangulong Marcos yung 600,000 metric tons. The name of the president is unnecessarily being dragged by the former SRA administrator. And as the executive secretary, I will not allow that.
Senate President Juan Miguel Migzubiri is convinced that violations were supposedly committed in the signing of Sugar Order No. 4. Tolentino has directed the SRA to submit to the committee the sugar inventory to establish whether or not there was indeed a shortage of sugar in the country. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
A farmers group complains about the cocoa levy law's program's slow implementation. They also request a longer registration period. Ray Pelayo explains why.
There are around 1 million more coconut farmers based on the estimate of the Pambansang Kaisahan ng mga magbubukid ng Pilipinas as compared to the record of the Philippine Coconut Authority. The group's chairman, Ed Mora, wants to allow plenty of time for registration in order to include more farmers as beneficiaries of the Cocoa Levy Fund.
Ang sabi ko nga dito, kung mayroong 2.5 million, yun ba'y sigurado nakaresto na? Kasi ang nilagyan kasi ng taning halimbawa, pag-aparesto mula ng permahan, 60 days yata yun. Ibig sabihin, hindi makakayahin na dapat tuloy-tuloy yung usapin ng pag-aparesto ng mga magsasaka.
The 75 billion pesos Cocoa Levy Fund must be used to modernize the industry and for the benefit of farmers under the Coconut Farmers and Industry Trust Fund Act. However, after the Senate hearing last September 1, the budget released for the Philippine Coconut Authority is only 755 million pesos. According to the Budget Department, other implementing agencies did not request their own budgets.
For the implementing units, Madam Chair, it is stated in the list that it's pending, but we have not received any request to date.
The lawmakers are dismayed by the implementation's delay. Senator Cynthia Villar, chair of the Agriculture and Food Committee, made it clear that the medical benefit for farmers described in the law's provision is distinct from the benefits that farmers should receive from the state insurer.
Kung 5 billion, 500 million a year will be given directly to the coconut farmer in addition to their PhilHealth membership. It's not part of PhilHealth. So, kasi alam natin, yung mahihirap, hindi enough yung PhilHealth.
Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
There are 4.4 million beneficiaries of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Out of the said number, 1.3 million are considered non-poor. However, the DSWD said at least 400,000 of them are to be retained as four-piece beneficiaries. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development is in the process of verifying its list of beneficiaries for the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, or 4Ps. Based on their review, at least 400,000 out of the initial number of 1.3 million are still qualified for the program.
Out of the 1.3 million, they on their list is around 30 to 40% daw po ay hindi pa dapat alisin sa listahan po namin.
The department began their delisting process to make sure all beneficiaries of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program are qualified. However, it drew ire from various groups and several beneficiaries as well when the department announced 1.3 million are considered non-poor and should be delisted. Amid validation of the 4Ps list, DSWD Secretary Erwin Tulfo said the department is comparing their list with the list of the Samahan ng 4Ps beneficiaries, the beneficiaries listed in the respective municipalities, and with the official 4Ps list.
We will have 4 lists, Mr. Chair, to compare para po masiguro yun po ang safety net namin, Mr. Chair, na hindi po basta-basta matanggal po yung kawawang tao dahil sa tinamaan siya ng listahan.
Based on the data of the DSWD as of September 5, around 187,000 are officially delisted. The Secretary clarified that it would take months before the delisted beneficiaries will officially be removed from the 4Ps list. The official also assured the delisted beneficiaries can still receive assistance from the DSWD.
Meron pa po kaming mga other programs po sa kanila, tulad po ng Sustainable Livelihood Program, pwede po silang i-enroll doon. And meron din po tayong other programs, sir. Nandyan pa rin po, sir, yung AICS, yung Assistance for Individual in Crisis Situation.
The department has a proposed budget of 194.6 billion pesos, and the bulk of the budget is allocated to the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program with 115.6 billion peso budget. Meanwhile, the DSWD is requesting for additional budget to fund more department programs. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, around 300 PDLs, or persons deprived of liberty, are likely to be released by the Department of Justice or DOJ on the President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s birthday. Dante Amento tells us why.
A list of PDLs or persons deprived of liberty eligible for executive clemency is annually submitted by the Justice Department to the President. According to DOJ spokesperson Attorney Miko Clavano, the Office of the President and the Executive Secretary will receive the recommendation for the grant of executive clemency this week.
Yung executive clemency naman ho, that is a purely executive act of the President na for those that are qualified and have shown good behavior in the New Bilibid prison under our correction system, mabibigyan ho ng second chance. Of course, gusto ho natin na ma-reform itong mga PDLs natin, and by way of executive clemency, that's given to them.
They are hoping that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will sign the recommendation on September 13 in honor of his 65th birthday, Clavano added. The Board of Pardons and Parole screened the list before it was released. However, who the President gives the executive clemency still depends on him.
And then it will be up to them already. I'm sure magkakaroon ho ng screening process yan. And then, hopefully on his birthday, masasign na ho niya yung executive clemency.
After an executive clemency is granted, a convicted person will be reinstated with his civil rights, such as the right to suffrage. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Despite an ongoing evaluation of the military's modernization program, Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Bartolome Vicente Bacaro stated the nation would continue to strive for a credible defense posture. Leia Ilagan reports why.
Lieutenant General Bartolome Vicente Bacaro, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, ensures that the acquisition of equipment for the Philippine Armed Forces will continue if the documentation and signing of the past administration are completed. Lieutenant General Bacaro added, the budget is the only restriction on the AFP modernization projects which are now in the pipeline.
Well, as of now, the study is still ongoing. I cannot definitively state kung ano yung prioritize natin and ano yung mga tatanggalin natin. But one thing is definite, we are making sure na yung ating defense posture is credible. So that's what we're looking at right now.
The two quick attack interceptor craft were given their names this morning in honor of the Marine Corps heroes BRP Nestor Acero and BRP Lolinato Toong. Philippine Fleet Commander Rear Admiral Nichols Dries says the two patrol gunboat would significantly aid in securing the Philippine exclusive economic zone.
The Navy, being the force provider, continuously provide the necessary platforms, surface assets, air assets for the respective use of every unified commands within the area. So ito po ay nakukuha na ng mga unified commands natin on area of operations regarding the stability and territorial defense.
The 9 patrol gunboat, which was purchased in Israel for 10 billion pesos, includes the 2 fast attack interdiction craft. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Britain's Conservative Party announced that its members had chosen Liz Truss to replace Boris Johnson as the next leader. The newly appointed Prime Minister has promised to deliver action on the surging energy costs. Iya De Vera will give us the details live. Iya?
LC incoming Prime Minister Liz Truss plans on freezing energy bills to assist households in the UK in tackling high energy costs this coming winter season. Her team has been working on a support package under which the government would guarantee loans to energy companies in order to lower their customers' bills. The loan scheme, which was originally proposed by energy company Scottish Power, would cost £100 billion and would be repaid over the next 10 to 20 years. While the energy price caps are expected to cover households and small firms, it is not yet clear if larger businesses will be offered the same help. More details of the plan will be announced by the UK government on Thursday. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Ia De Vera, for that live report. A man suspected of killing 10 people in a mass stabbing in Canada has been found dead with non-self-inflicted injuries. Damir Sanderson was found on James Smith Free Nation, where some of the attacks happened. Police are still searching for the 31-year-old's brother Miles, who is also a suspect and a danger to the public, detectives say. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said on Monday that this kind of violence or any kind of violence has no place in their country, and they would be there for each other in times of difficulty and anguish. The U.S. federal court grants former President Donald Trump a special master to handle his documentations seized by the FBI, a move that is likely to delay the Justice Department's criminal investigation. Nerissa Dando will tell us why live. Nerissa?
Good evening, Elsie. Former President Trump currently being investigated by the FBI for unauthorized retention of sensitive government secrets. The Mar-a-Lago state documents were identified to possibly be subject to privileged protections requiring a review before further investigations are held. Federal Judge Eileen Cannon, appointed by Trump to oversee the case, has already blocked the Department of Justice from touching these records until after a special master is approved to complete the review. Trump and his legal team is given until Friday to submit a proposed list of potential special masters. Cannon, in her 24-page ruling, pointed that Trump lacks a possessory interest in these records, and even raised doubts on the FBI's ability to screen privileged documents such as this. Cannon added that Trump has the ability to execute privilege on these documents even if Joe Biden, current president, does not. The Department of Justice had already opposed Trump's, including his former Attorney General Bill Barr, who calls the special master act a waste of time and a delay in his criminal investigation. In the meantime, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, or ODNI, can continue to investigate if the documents risk national security. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you for that report, Nerissa Dando. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
A health expert says it is also possible for the country to suffer from a mysterious pneumonia outbreak said to be caused by Legionnaire's disease. JP Nunez will tell us why.
The pneumonia outbreak that took place in Argentina and is currently being closely monitored by the World Health Organization is suspected to be caused by Legionella, or the Legionnaire's disease. The same outbreak is possible in the country, says infectious disease expert Dr. Ron Jean Solante. The disease, according to him, might thrive in contaminated water systems from air conditioning units, showers, swimming pools, and even hotel hot tubs.
Pwedeng mangyayari din yan sa Pilipinas, especially sa mga gusali na hindi maganda ang cleaning system, sa mga air conditioning system, sa mga water supplies. Dapat sine-check yan every now and then because ito yung pinupugaran ng Legionella pneumophilia, which is ito yung bacteria causing Legionnaire's disease.
Dr. Solante said that pipelines should have Legionella maintenance to avoid the contamination. He also advises immunocompromised elderly people who are experiencing shortness of breath, muscle pain, and high fever to see a doctor so they may receive the proper prescription of antibiotics to treat the condition. Legionella is a disease that is fatal if it reaches the lungs, resulting to pneumonia. Meanwhile, Department of Health Officer in charge Maria Rosario Vergere assures that the country has the capacity to test and do surveillance against Legionnaire's disease.
We are capable of testing for this specific disease na kanila pong sinususpetsya, yung Legionnaire's disease. Meron ho tayong kapasidad to do surveillance for that.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
Before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Isaiah, chapter 26, verse 10, it says, "Let favor be showed to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness will he deal unjustly, and will not behold the majesty of the Lord." The reasons behind the news, September 6, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Hardy Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.